Jared!
Ram!
This is amazing. This is a great building.
Yeah, it's nice, huh?
How long have you lived here?
About a year.
It's nice.
Plus?
Nice.
Yeah.
Should I close the door behind me?
Yeah, no worries. I got it.
Okay, thanks, man.
Yeah.
I'll take off my shoes.
If you don't mind.
Why would I mind?
Oh.
Okay, you see? It's fine. Everything's good. This is for you.
Thank you.
There you go.
Cheers.
It's hot.
Go ahead.
Okay, awesome.
good.
I just need to set up.
Sure.
Okay. Wait, but there's good.
Here's okay?
Shooting it raw?
Yes. Shooting it raw.
It's a means now of sharing experience. I feel like it's not something that I would necessarily have an interest in unless I had the tools to do it. And so we have a phone, we have like the social media, and so I'm sort of instantly engaged with photography. And so for me, it means like capturing moments to look back on myself or, you know, with my loved ones, but also like sharing an experience of like, oh, I went to this concert or I went to this beach. I was on this hike. And so like, here are photos because you're my grandma and you're never going to be able to have that experience as well. Like, unfortunately. So like, here's a photo. Let's talk about it. Let's discuss it. Like, you can be a part of that experience in some way.
Jared,
Plaxe.
Plaxe. You have a middle name?
Steven.
Steven.
Yeah, with a PH.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And
I think
Jared
that's
with
the
an
Jewish
L.
way.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's the Jewish way. Okay.
Jared with one R.
Got it.
And an E.
Jared. Got it. Awesome. Perfect. Jared, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. It's a little bit artificial in which we meet. I say, hey, can I want to meet?
Yeah.
And you say, sure. And somehow I coerced you or connived to have you invite me to your house. We're on the 11th floor in Wanchai in Hong Kong. I love it.
The launch.
The Wanch. I love this part of town. I imagine you do as well.
Thanks. Yeah. I love it here.
Yeah.
Karis and I, we love being here.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Like, it's so convenient. And it's like so convenient to get to hiking in the woods or the beach. Everything is a bus ride away.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like where we came from in New York, you know, rent isn't cheap anywhere, but like comparatively, we live in like the East Village,
right?
Like of that easiness
sure.
of getting around, and like there's so many restaurants in Wanchai. Like we never struggle on what to eat and or what to cook because like the market is right here,
right down there. Yeah.
You know, I see all the ladies, like the market people, and like they all know me now.
Oh,
like,
nice.
Yeah, it's really cool. Like you get that sort of really familial sense of being here.
Nice.
Yeah.
No, I love this part. My office is literally 500 meters away.
Amazing.
It's like super close. So for me, this is kind of, it's been home for years.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been coming here a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining me. Thank you for welcoming me. And let's dive into the photographs because it'll all come out.
Sure.
We'll get to know you. I'll just move this over a little bit closer. And then it's that. So the first photo is, okay, so it's done in this apartment or in a different place?
No, this is in a private studio in Shangwan.
Okay. And so in the photograph, there are two crimson, like matching, very nice crimson yoga mats with blocks next to them. The floor is this cream linoleum, and around the wall, oh, there's a bunny in the room.
There's a bunny in the room.
Chester!
There he is. He's like, whoa, holy shit.
Back to the photo. So, around is like a sort of like a cream colored blinds wall. It's, you know, it's a yoga studio.
Yeah.
The photograph is dominated by two people propped onto their heads, with toes pointed to the ceiling, both wearing black tights of sort and kind of gray to olive green tank tops.
It is kind of funny how we match a bit.
there's in the foreground, closest to the camera, is a female form, and in the background is a male form. And I will guess that you are one of them.
I am.
So what is the story, man?
I am the male.
Okay.
Perceived. The story is Karis and I. It's about our sort of finding of yoga,
Okay.
and our experience is very different. Like our experience level, like she sort of started going to classes in a different studio than this, like before work, and at her last job. And then as she progressed into it, she was like, hey, you should come to a class. You should come to class. And I started going as well. And then I sort of found my own interests within. But I included this photo specifically because one of the things that we've really both found to be an everyday practice is the headstand.
Okay.
And it's like the sense of changing your perspective allows for so much freedom.
Okay.
And it's it's super great for your body in general, just to change your blood flow, to send some blood flowing like through your head, in a different like rate.
Right.
And
how long do you hold the pose for?
Anywhere from 5 to 10 deep breaths.
Okay.
To maybe like 3 minutes.
Okay.
If you're really feeling it.
Okay.
Like if that's your practice that day.
Wow.
But this is like more of a standard inversion. We're doing it a little bit differently. Like you can see her hands are behind her head.
Yeah.
And my hands are sort of in front of my face.
Flattened, yeah.
This is more of like they call it a tripod headstand. Because you have like 3 points of connection with the mat. And I guess the way Karis is doing it is more like, I guess, standard. And actually I've tried to move my practice into that formation. It's a little bit easier on my neck.
Right.
But a lot of yogis will say that the tripod is like easier for guys to get into because you can kind of just use more of your like brute strength.
Right.
To like hoist your legs up.
Okay.
But for the both of us, yoga has become such an important way of our lives and like part of our lives that I just wanted to just like share that.
No, for sure.
I think that like I wouldn't have expected to like find it.
So how long have you guys been doing yoga in this way? Because certainly with COVID, it's kind of like, okay, everybody is becoming very internally focused, right?
Yeah.
So is this a 1 year, 6 months?
This is like
2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks. Our first class.
Yeah.
No, it's been about 3.5 years probably for Karis. Yeah, it's been years now for both of us. The way that we've been practicing. I would say my practice really took a more like structured part of my life over the last 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah, where it's become like more of like a dedicated practice of like every day I will try to do something that is like engaging. And like what I've also learned and sort of started to practice is like yoga encompasses so much more than a physical practice.
Right.
I've learned a lot of meditation. I've really started to like find, okay, maybe I'm not doing a physical practice today, but I'm going to sit and meditate for 10 minutes, or I'm going to do this flow of breath work, and really sort of finding my sense of self and sense of connection to like the moment, by practicing.
Right.
So through COVID, it's like taken some turns, and there's been a lot more home practice. There's been a lot more park yoga. The studio that we started going to closed, unfortunately, like at sort of the beginning of the pandemic.
Wow. Okay. Early casualty.
Yeah, it really was. And it's like, it was really our favorite one in the city. So we've followed some teachers, and this studio that we're in the photo is a class run by one of our close friends, Stella.
Okay.
So that's been really nice too, to like have a different connection to like the class itself.
Right.
It's like really someone that we enjoy.
As we're having this conversation, we've known each other all of maybe half an hour.
Yeah.
Before this.
Right.
Maybe even not even 20 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Like, not very long.
Not very long.
And our relationship doesn't go back too far.
No.
I'm Mr. Friendly.
Yeah.
So when I met you, which was in one of Hong Kong's most amazing beaches.
It's the best.
Just so stunning. And we were, me, Delian, Cadence, we were hiking.
Yeah.
They're like, don't talk to people, leave people alone. I spotted your tattoo.
My tattoo,
and, written in Hebrew. And I was like, oh, hey, I'll talk to you for a second. And then, so you were on a kind of a hike, sort of a camping, whatever.
Camping, hiking extravaganza.
So you're out for 5 days or 4 days, right?
The plan was 4 days.
Right.
Yeah, I did 3.
Okay. And because the rain was just god awful.
Yeah. Who
goes hiking and camping in the middle of a typhoon? Okay. Jared.
It was the sunny part of the
okay,
typhoon. Right. Yeah.
So how does that fit into yoga? Because with yoga you become very conscious of your body and of your space and where you are and all this stuff. And so did that feed into your... Because in a way, when somebody makes that decision, I'm going to go camping for 4 days or 5 days, whatever it is, I'm going to remove myself. And so you plan for it and you just do it. And then, you're gone solo, right? You did it by yourself.
Yeah.
So what was the thinking behind that? What was the motivation behind that?
The motivation, like, behind the hike and, like, the solo-ness of it was really a way for me to, like, disconnect.
Okay.
I didn't check Instagram the whole time. Like, that's my main social media. So, like, my phone was, like, communicating with Karis to, like, check in.
Yeah.
It was, like, music sometimes. And it was, like, navigation.
Yeah.
But, like, that's it.
Yeah.
And the path that I took, which was, like, along, from one end of Kowloon to the other.
Sure.
Was about just seeing the city in a different way. And almost like being upside down.
Right.
Where it's, like, changing your perspective to, and in yoga, that sense of breath and that sense of, like, okay, I'm in warrior 2, I'm in triangle pose, like whatever posture you're in, each sort of, the connection to your own self, the idea is that when you're out in the world, when you're doing your work, when you're doing whatever it is, you can come back to that moment.
Right.
And you can say, you can take a deep breath and say, like, I can progress.
Right.
And so in the time off that I had in July, I really wanted to take a trip on my own. That was a moment where I could come back to in 2 months from now when my life is, like, super busy, super work focused, like a lot more intense. And I can, like, bring my head above water for a moment to, like, take that deep breath and, like, put myself in that space alone on the mountain, my heavy pack, like, but looking around and, like, feeling like this is wonderful. Right.
Okay. In our conversation, there are a couple of words that you used, and since we're sitting in your kitchen at your table, there's I am looking for evidence of a pastry chef.
You won't find.
I won't find any. Okay,
you won't find
because that's kind of where I latched onto. It's like, oh, I haven't had a pastry chef on the podcast.
There's no pile of croissants or
I don't see KitchenAid anywhere.
I know.
Now, better question then. I see a knife. I see a nice sharp knife. If I were to very clinically, medically, surgically chop you up and look, you invited me into your house. Look how big my eyes are. Look how big your eyes are. Got the knife, chop you up into separate little pieces for all of your tattoos.
Okay.
In terms of each time separate ones were made, how many sections of body would I have?
We can start from the bottom. So you'd have one section for my feet.
You did both of them together?
Both of them together.
Okay.
Yeah, because it is one piece.
Right.
But it's both feet. This is not in order of
it's fine.
Gaining.
It's whatever.
You would need to be creative with the top of my body.
Okay.
Like my chest.
I'm very creative.
You know?
Yeah, no problem. Keep going.
The left side of my chest has one.
Just
on
a
its
little
own.
psycho conversation.
Yeah. Garrus is going to love it. You'd need to saw me down the middle, really, because like my left shoulder and my right shoulder each have a piece that
done
are
together?
Done separately.
Okay.
Through life, I've created
right.
their own congruency.
Sure.
But they were definitely at separate times. And then, in terms of hiding the body, it would be pretty easy.
Right.
Because my thumb on my left hand, my thumb would be a separate time from the other four fingers.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
And then my left arm, you would have two pieces as well, because this one was done separately from the rest of the arm, and like this piece was done a lot. Right. It's the same artist and the same piece now, but it's different.
Got it. Were they all done roughly in the same countries, or were they done anywhere?
United States and Hong Kong.
Okay.
And Bali, actually.
Okay, nice.
These ones were in Bali. Yeah.
Okay. Very good. Shall we move on to the next photograph?
Sure.
This is what the podcast is like.
I
it's
love
like,
it.
Okay.
I love it, yeah.
Moving on. Okay, so what it is a photograph that looks like it was done on the floor, it's on the floor on a desk. It is on the floor. It is?
It's
right there. Okay, so it's on the floor, so linoleum tiles. It looks like there's some kind of belt that's sort of wrapped up. It looks like there's almost what looks like a sliver of a weight or some kind of hard plastic.
This is true.
And then the subject of the photograph is a rabbit.
It's a rabbit
who came to visit a little earlier. And so the rabbit
doesn't like loud noises.
Doesn't like loud noises,
no,
and I'm very loud. I'm so sorry.
So is my laugh.
I know. What's great about the photograph is the eye is sharply in focus, which is perfect. The nose is blurred. It's a beautiful rabbit. He's tawny. His face is like kind of modeled, brindle, if you will. Beautiful animal.
Chin.
So tell us about Jennifer.
Jennifer. Chester Chewy Churro.
Okay.
Is our lion head rabbit. The breed name sort of explains his like funny face that like, you know, it's got a bit. Yeah. It's a bit longer here. Like it almost
looks like
is like mane-like.
Sure. Yeah. It's beautiful.
Yeah. He's got some black spots. He's got some mostly tan body. Like the funniest thing about Chester is he really doesn't look like a bunny. Because his ears stick up all the time, and they never like. He's not a lop, so they don't fall down. They'll bend when he's really, really comfortable. They'll lay like against his head.
Oh, okay.
Which means he's like not listening for much.
Yeah, he's chill. Yeah.
Yeah, he's really chill. He's 9 months old.
Oh, so he's young. Okay.
He's really young. Yeah. We got him in February.
Wow.
And when we got him, he was a baby. He was like 2 months old.
The Wanchai bird.
Oh, I always say, sounds of nature. Yeah, we got him in February, and it was so funny. Like, we had gotten new iPhones this day, and so mine was doing the like syncing to the cloud, and Karis's was doing the syncing to the cloud. So we both didn't have any phones, and she had started a new job previously, and so it was like really the first time. She's got a big job. So it was the first time since really starting the job that like she didn't have access to like the messages and the stuff. And it was her day off, but like there's always something.
Sure.
So we found ourselves in this moment of like, we're walking around Causeway Bay, like phoneless and kind of like, you know, in this day and age is like, you're like an alien, you know? So we're walking around and we see the bunny store and we're like in the window and she was like, I was like, let's go in, you know, she's mesmerized. And, the long story is like the bunny we didn't get that we were holding, but like as soon as you step into the bunny store, they basically like put one in your hands. and so next thing we know, like Karis is holding the bunny and it's the softest thing in the whole world.
Wow.
And she's like, we need to have one.
Oh no.
And like we never talked about having a pet before or like even specifically a bunny. Yeah. You know? And this sent us on like a week-long chase of like, we're gonna get a bunny now.
Yeah, what is this?
We had to like really convince the landlord.
Wow.
We had to like start a new, like we had to update the lease.
Wow. Wow. Oh, that's a big just
it was a big deal. Yeah. Wow. Just for like a pet in general.
Wow. So would the landlord even know if you had a pet?
So everybody was like, no, just get the bunny. Just get the bunny. And I have the guiltiest conscience.
Right.
Like I'm good at breaking rules when I think that the rules like are really out of bounds of like being able, you know what I mean? But like when it comes to something that's like a creature in your home and like...
Yeah, because you don't want something bad to happen.
Yeah, the landlord doesn't come around like, you know, nonchalantly, but like if there's like works or something, like the landlord will come.
Sure.
So our friend lives down the block who like can take care of Chester, but I was like, we really gotta make sure it's okay, you know? Wow. So, Chester came with an updated lease, like a security deposit.
Wow,
he's not a cheap friend, but we love him anyway.
So we had this conversation before, which I'd never thought of. It never had occurred to me, but that when you talk about these animals specifically, as wild animals, they're rabbits, but invariably when they're your pet, they're bunnies. Like they're bunnies. That's the thing. Like and the word bunny is such a funny word in English. It's the funny. If you think about it, bunny. It's a funny word. But then, it's quite interesting. Okay, so you had both never really thought about having a bunny. And then you do. And what is the most surprising thing about having a bunny? For the people who are just like, what the hell are they talking about? Like, because first of all, super, super cute animal.
Yeah.
Unbelievably cute.
Yeah. The most surprising thing, probably...
How much meat they eat? Yeah, I find that shocking.
We're just like slaughtering lamb left and right for him. No, he fits in perfectly here because he is a vegetarian.
Yeah, great.
He's actually a better vegan than we are. But don't get him started. I mean, he'll go off.
Yeah.
What's surprising is when they're really excited, they do this jump that is generally referred to as a binky.
Binky.
A binky.
Okay.
And basically, it's like usually when they're running and they'll hop and like kick their legs off to the side.
Okay.
And then like land perfectly and keep going.
Okay.
And he'll still do it now. When he was a baby, he like did it all the time.
Sure.
And it's just the cutest thing.
Right.
Like it's the cutest and it will just like, it is like instant joy.
Right.
It's instant joy.
Yeah. Do you think it's a space issue that he's not binking it up?
No, I think it's like... He gets it.
How often do you guys have binky parties where the humans binky away as well?
Actually, I did one the other day, like imitating it.
Busted!
Yeah. Well, and he'll do a flop.
Okay.
Which is like when he's like also like super comfortable and he basically just like throws his body on the ground.
Right.
And so we'll laugh and like imitate him and I'll like flop on the bed. Or,
okay.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
like almost involuntary
right.
of him. Like this move that's just like hilarious. Because it's so high off the ground too. And it's like, somebody like clicking their heels. Like it's as ridiculous as that.
So it's just joy.
Like, it's just pure joy.
What's the highest that you've seen him jump?
Oh my god. Probably like to the door handle.
Okay.
One day it was
about
like,
a meter high up.
Yeah. And it was one of those moments where if one of us hadn't seen it, we wouldn't have believed the other person. Because he just like, out of nowhere sprung up.
Like a rabbit.
Like a leopard, really. Like
got the handle!
Yeah, we were like, whoa, boy!
So here's what's really fun. This is what I find hilarious, endearing, shocking. Not shocking, not at all shocking, but endearing. Is that here we are. We're in the Wanchai. There's parts of Wanchai that are pretty urban, intense, pretty rough. You grew up in New York City or in New Jersey?
I grew up in New Jersey.
New Jersey, okay, but you'd go into New York all the time.
All the time.
So definitely city kid. And then I make my way into this big crazy city, come to your place, show up with nice strong coffee. We're talking in your apartment, and then. When I say to you, okay, send me some photos of where your head is at. One of the photos is of a bunny. The cutest little thing. And I love the juxtaposition of somebody who'd see you on the street, who doesn't know who you are.
Yeah.
Who would see you with the tats and everything, would jump to one conclusion. Is there something to say about, coming from a badass place like New Jersey / New York or whatever it is. Yeah. Is it badass? Is it not badass?
I mean, the neighborhood I grew up in is not very badass.
Okay.
But like, the New York parts of my life, like the years that I lived in Brooklyn, could be seen as badass. Yeah.
All that crack you were doing?
All the crack I was doing.
Sure.
Yeah, it's really, it's done wonders.
Okay.
Yeah.
But no, so I find it hilarious that here we are, gushing over a bunny, and here's the other thing. I was explaining this to my daughter. Okay, I had no idea our conversation was going this direction. I didn't know this was going to be the photo.
Yeah.
So okay, here we go.
No worries.
We talk about the cows and we talk about the different cute animals, and the thing is, like with bunnies, like they are so badass when you think that. In the wild, they just live. It's like minus 20,
like
minus
in the wild.
What?
They're like vermin in the wild.
I know, but life is so hard. Like it's just like it's life and death.
Right. They are always on a mission to survive.
To eat. To eat. Not avoid predators. It's just like we project this cuteness on them, but their life is like
they're scared
life
as hell.
Is so badass.
Yeah.
So we project cuteness on them.
But I mean, look at him.
No, he's super cute. Yeah. This is a properly like a breed that is like in the way that a pug or a Shih Tzu is.
Yeah.
So it's like it's okay.
Even the ugly ones are like pretty damn cute.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Well, let's move on. Hopefully, I know I'm very loud. I'm so sorry, Chester.
It's all right. This is the time of the day too where he just like really chills.
This photograph is different in feeling, and okay, so it's a selfie where you're holding the camera, you're shirtless, but you've got a pack on your shoulders. You got sunglasses peering on your head. Behind you is blue sky with a few clouds, and there's what looks like to be the sort of the high-rise apartment buildings of Kowloon, I guess, in the back. It just looks like one of Hong Kong's many places where there are lots of high-rise buildings, but like residential buildings. You're at the top of some rocky exposed mount.
I think it's Lion Rock.
Lion Rock.
Yeah.
Very nice. Very iconic photograph.
Yeah.
Your mouth is open as if you're saying something, and your arm is splayed as if you're pointing to something. It looks like it's very hot because there's a bit of a sweat.
Yeah, I don't look entirely comfortable.
Okay. So what's the story? Why this photo? And what I love is that what I find is funny is that the horizontal, because it's basically keeled over like 45 degrees, it gives you the sense of action and sky and movement and all that stuff. Yeah. So what's the story?
Well, the story is about the hike, the trip that we met on, actually. Okay. And it was at a peak moment of like, I've made it this far.
Right.
So I included that so that we could talk about the hike and like talk about this experience that I had. And I liked this one out of like a lot of the ones that I took because there's like that movement and that sense of like not everything is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a lot of bit sweaty. Like I'm not like smiling.
It's
and,
not
like,
a model
you know
shot.
It's not a model shot. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, I mean, I'm shirtless, but
Yeah.
that's literally just because I was so damn sweaty.
Chester's looking at you and he's not impressed.
He's
Like,
know.
yeah, whatever.
It's like, I've seen you look better, Dad. But it's this like sense of accomplishment.
Okay.
Being at the top and like being my hand like out, sort of to say like, look at it all.
Right.
Like here it is. Like this is what I came for,
Sure.
and like here I am,
Right.
sort of at the top of this part of the hike.
Right.
It was this sort of camping, hiking. You know, I've camped a lot growing up. I've camped in a few different ways
Mm-hmm.
over my life, but doing it on my own and like doing it with all of my gear on my back
Right.
was something I've never done before.
Okay.
So if we want to talk about like where my head is at, it's like this is one of the most recent like activities that
Okay.
I've like put myself through in a way that was a challenge.
Okay.
And
Okay.
that was like, I wasn't sure how I would feel during it. I wasn't sure how I would like, you know, I always had the confidence to say like, this is something I can achieve.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But it was something completely new that I went for.
Well, okay, so what I like... Okay, so the podcast is about how people make sense of the world using photographs as a way to start the conversation. You could die in any minute. Have to make the most out of every second.
Yeah.
And here you push yourself out of your comfort zone to go for this hike by yourself, camp outside, that kind of stuff. Generally speaking, people do this kind of thing when they're in some form of transition, right? Mm-hmm. So either, you know, something every day is kind of the same, and something happens, you get hit by a car, something happens, and then something changes, right? So is that what it was like in terms of your life outside of this moment? Like, why did you have that realization? Well, I'm going to do it now. It's now or never. Like, why?
Yeah. Well, I had the time off. Like
Okay.
I was in the transition, like you're saying, of like big life kind of movements. Like I'm between jobs.
Okay.
And I guess now, at the time of recording, I have sort of entered the new venture.
Oh.
And it's starting slowly as we like prepare to open.
Oh, wow.
Because the shop isn't ready to like work in and stuff.
Okay.
We're still like in the build, but leaving one job, going to the next job, sort of knowing that like now is the time when I have the time
Right.
to plan it properly, to do it without having to be sort of tethered to a work message or like my phone or answering sort of
schedule of some
schedule
sort. Yeah.
of anything, you know what I mean? And then to like come home and also like decompress from it in a way that felt like I wasn't jumping right back into work.
Right.
Was sort of the inspiration.
Okay, so I'd mentioned before that I had spent, I think, just 2 days, maybe 3 days, as far as pastry, as far as your world as a pastry chef is concerned. I've had one toe in that for a couple of days in a sort of a luxury hotel where I was just helping the pastry chef.
Oh, nice.
Okay. But in principle, like I know restaurants, I've worked in restaurants.
Sure.
I don't know what it's like to be a pastry chef.
Yeah.
So why don't you, I kind of asked you for my daughter's sake, but why don't you talk about how it is that whatever path you've taken landed you in Hong Kong so that just before you start in this new venture, that we're sitting and we're having this conversation. Like, how did you become you?
Sure.
And what is that?
Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, I have always wanted to be a pastry chef. Like I've always had this I've always had a sweet tooth is really the key basis of it. Growing up, I was just like, chocolate is the best thing in the whole world.
Yeah.
Like cake, sure. Like cheesecake, sure. Like dessert in general, I'm there.
Yeah,
I'm not showing up for the dinner. I'm showing up for dessert.
Right.
And then it was like helping mom in the kitchen or making something for a birthday or school bake sales and whatever. And then it just became like something that I wanted to do like on a Saturday afternoon. Right. Like I could be playing outside or video games or like, no, I wanted to bake. Right. Like I don't know why, but it just like was what I wanted. Cool. And like my family was super supportive and wicked. Yeah. Like growing up close to New York, it was always like, oh, well, we can go see this chef or this shop or this chocolate place or whatever, you know. Wow. And so I gained a lot of inspiration at like a really young age. Sure. Yeah. Sure. Oh, wow.
So in terms of the formal practice. Yeah. Where did
I went to culinary school. At the Culinary Institute of America. Okay. Like right out of high school. Right. And so that was my like college experience. Okay. A lot of people would like go to like a normal college and then go to culinary school as like a career change or like, whatever it was. But I really was like set on it.
You knew what you wanted.
I knew what I wanted. Yeah. And I look back now in like a different light a little bit, but I couldn't have cared less about like other academics back then. So it was like, cut to the chase. Let's make cake.
Well, but look, it landed you in Hong Kong, where like a fiercely, like culinarily speaking, very rich environment for you to express yourself, and in a way, a kind of I don't want to say frontier, but there's a lot of potential because so many like businesses turn over and there's always new opportunities, right? Yeah.
So when I came here 3.5 years ago, like
when you were what, 17? Like you look really young. How old are you?
No, I'm 27.
I'm still now. Really young. Okay, what? Very young. You come. So you got here when you were 24.
I got here when I was 24. Yeah.
Wicked.
Yeah, and I had come from being sort of like sous chef level in the restaurant that I was working at and maintaining like a sourdough and doing bread and having previous experience at the bakery in New York doing croissants and stuff like that. And so I kind of I knew that like restaurant desserts weren't really my thing. Okay. Because that's like what I struggled with at the last job. And so when I had the opportunity to move here, which is sort of based in one part of Karis living here and one part of having to get out of New York. Right. As like a mentality. Mm-hmm. I said, yeah, let me see Hong Kong. Let me see it. And like, once I came here, like Bakehouse had like just opened. Okay. And so the market then was like even a lot smaller. Okay. And knowing that sourdough was something that I loved and croissants were something that I loved to make and eat and like share, I found a job that told me they would take me.
How long would it take did you find the job from New York or did you just come here and start looking?
I came here on 2 occasions. Okay. One was more of like a love trip, reconnecting with Karis, and like it was just really short. I was here for like less than 3 days.
What?
Yeah.
You came here for less than 3 days?
I came here for like less than 3 days.
From New York?
Yeah.
That's a schlep for a booty call, man.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, nice. Luckily it was a lot more than a booty call.
Amazing.
But it was like, it was crazy. Like New Year's Eve, like I flew, the morning of New Year's Day, I flew out here.
Oh, wow.
Landed, was here for like, a day and a half.
Bonkers.
And like, I had to get back to work. So it was...
Shit, that's respect, man.
But, so we just, like, didn't sleep and, like, saw the city and, like, hung out. So then after that, like, knowing my connection with Karis and knowing that I wanted to move out of the city, I was like,
let's make it happen.
Yeah.
Nice,
so that was January. In April of that year, I came out here for 2 weeks.
Okay.
And I guess at that point, I had left my job knowing that it's what I wanted, but I came out here specifically to like job hunt.
Okay.
And like to like really search for it.
Well.
So did that, and then I found a job during that time that like was this like small artisanal bakery in Shangwan, and then my plan was to move in June. Okay. So I came home from Hong Kong mid-April, moved back with my fam for a month and a half, and then by January 6th, actually I did like a California camping trip with one of my really close friends out there. Yeah. And then I moved, and then I just like continued to Hong Kong from California.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. So then in January I landed here, and they told me that my visa couldn't be processed or whatever.
Oh, shit.
So I found a different job, which was the bakery in Happy Valley that I was running.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's use you taking a breath and me saying nice as a excuse to drink some coffee, please.
Thank you.
To go to the next photo. So in this photograph, we have a chain link fence. On it there's a lock. There's one. I can only see one. Well, there are many padlocks.
It's two locks that are important to the photo.
Okay. And there are two hands. One is your hand. I can tell because of the tattoos. One is a female hand. I would assume. What is the significance of that ring?
That's the engagement ring.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, there we go. It's an interesting engagement ring. What is this?
It's a diamond slice. So it's like a raw piece of the ore.
Oh.
And so Karis and I are recently engaged. As of
Mazal Tov. Yeah. Cool.
As of Monday.
Oh.
So this is really where my head is at.
Very
this
recent.
is like the most recent of the photos, and both of our rings. Like I also took a ring.
Okay.
Technically it's my wedding band, but I decided to wear it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
They're both from this company called Gardens of the Sun, based in Bali.
Oh, okay.
And it's this like women-owned, run company that Karis found actually about like last year, really. And they make all sorts of jewelry in this sort of style, where they take like raw pieces of sapphire, rubies, like all the gemstones.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to create an engagement ring that was different.
Mm-hmm.
Because of a lot of different reasons, like just everything about Karis and I is like quite unconventional,
right?
And our relationship is wild and different, and like lovely in that sense.
Yeah.
So her ring, the centerpiece, is this diamond stone that it's like iridescent and has a lot of texture to it, sort of inside.
Yeah. Okay.
The significance of the locks and everything is like the yellow one faded out, says our names on it, and the date is on the side where Karis had put the lock on, which was after that January trip that I came here. Okay. So that was in February.
So this is in Hong Kong?
This is on Changchao.
Okay.
Yeah, Changchao is like our favorite island.
Right.
And it's just like, sort of like Hom Tin. It's like, in Hong Kong, it's our version of like peace and paradise and like escapism.
Right.
So I knew that I wanted to like be engaged many years ago, but when I knew that it was time, it's been a whole saga getting the rings with the company, because I ordered them in January.
Right. And
they've taken until now to show up. So they actually came this Monday morning.
Oh, exciting.
And I was like, all the pieces are here. Like, we're going to do it. Let's do it now.
Okay.
So my decoy sort of excursion was like, we're going to go to Changchao. We got to see the love lock that you put for us, because I want to put one for Chester.
Ah, sweet.
So the red one, you can see
much newer.
Yeah, much newer. We wrote it that day, and it's Chester's name.
Yeah.
And so sort of in a cheesy expression of love.
It's sweet. It's just sweet.
Yeah, totally. I mean, he's just like he's my first pet ever that like has 4 legs.
Wow.
So he's really important to me, and like,
yeah.
I wanted to do that, but also in this way of like, I love talking about love, and I love talking about us and like what makes us so special, and being on Chung Chao and like all the pieces, like we left sort of the gated area where this is, and I proposed.
Oh, okay.
So it was a really, really special moment.
Wow,
like,
nice.
Yeah, that is.
As a type, I tend to kind of like I go towards things. You know what I mean? Like if there's danger, I'll go towards it. If there's risk, I'll go towards it. If there's sweetness, I'll dive into it. I mean, look, this podcast is about going towards these ideas and things with the person, right? So as you're sharing the story, the background, for an external person, it's like it's a different feeling, because you know, if you're telling me about an adventure, like for example hiking up Lion Rock, I connected to the Lion Rock side, whatever, and so it's exciting and all that stuff.
Sure.
And then but then when you start talking about this photograph, which for you is really steeped in emotion and meaning and significance, I think in the recording you can hear it in your voice. I can see it in your face. I can hear it in the breaths that you take and how you're communicating and all this stuff. So my interest at this point is to go kind of to go, okay, let's talk more about that. Like what you proposed, she said yes, you've shared the rings, and this was so recent. What's connected to that in terms of the meaning, in terms of your lives? Like obviously you're great companions.
Yeah.
You're really connected intellectually and emotionally and stuff. But what do we expand outside of that for somebody to not necessarily learn from, but to kind of...
Well, our story, like I was saying, it like is so unconventional, and like most of that is sort of a greater story for maybe another time. But like it's this sense of like, you know, everybody that we've met who've sort of had the opportunity to like talk with and like not explain our love, but like when you really get into it, I think it's like really eye-opening for a lot of people. This is going to be Karis's second marriage. Right. It will be my first marriage, but it's my relationship with Karis is really special because I mean, before I met Karis, I was dating guys exclusively, and that was sort of how I saw myself growing up. I did like the coming out and like this sort of expansion of myself in that moment. I was 17, you know, that was 10 years ago now. And then I met Karis and everything turned on its head, you know, like, and it was just this moment of like, holy shit.
Wow,
like,
that's interesting.
You're awesome.
Okay.
And we became friends and coworkers, but like we became friends, and like our story sort of started from this place of like just being there, like supporting each other. And like what is like so significant about our unconventionality is like the fact that like love exists in this way that is unique to everybody, but is also like so malleable. Like it's so, there is no right way to love.
I couldn't agree with you more.
And like what I'm so proud of is like the fact that we have both been open to letting our love like grow, and like letting our love become what it is now, which is like all of this, you know what I mean? It's art, it's music, it's like Chester, it's everything, and I just like couldn't be happier, you know.
No, I got that.
And I
the notion of convention, normality. If we're born with a finite amount of time, and we don't know when that time ends, and within that time our identity emerges, right? our needs, our wants, our desires, our dreams, all this stuff emerges, and we follow paths that feel right, are make sense to us, and we connect with people along that ride. The conventional idea of normalcy is this. It's this idea that we just sort of impose and say, oh, this is what normal should look like. And then you realize, wait a second, there's so many exceptions to the rule that maybe it's not even worth, attaching yourself to this idea of what normal looks like. So we have an unconventional relationship. Well, isn't every relationship kind of unconventional?
Yeah. Yeah. And in that sense, like, our relationship isn't so weird. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think our relationship is weird, like, or abnormal.
Yeah.
I just think that there's so much beauty behind it.
I'm with you. Like, so 100%. I think part of what connects me to what you're saying is that I'm in the room, and there's that. What's great with the audio is that people are going to imagine what you look like or whatever, then look on the photographs, but if there's a bravery or if there's a kind of, I think inviting me to tell your story to frame and tell and share your story, I think is, I don't want to use the word brave because it's kind of overused, but I think what it is it's kind of like open, and commendable and great. Yeah. So fuck conventional. Okay. Yeah, because, I mean, like, we've known each other for a long time, and... those crazy kids in the other room, what's he doing?
No, he's
trashing the place. Like, that guy talks too much.
Throwing stuff around, yeah. He's really liked this one piece of plastic that we have over there lately, like, more so now than... He's big enough to finally pick it up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Busting a binky.
Totally. Totally. He's just making a squish spot for him. Nice. He really likes to be, like,
small. Cozy. Yeah.
We've known each other for a long time, Karis and I, and we've really, our love has grown slowly.
Okay.
And, like, over all of that time. And in a way where it's sort of allowed us to, like, breathe the whole time.
Right.
And to feel confident in what it is.
Okay.
Because it was a lot of, for me, when we started dating, it was a lot of change in a way that didn't feel different for me, like didn't feel like a change for me.
Right.
But all of the noise outside of me was like, holy shit, what are you doing? This is so crazy and different. Oh my God, you're like with a woman, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm with Karis. Like, I'm with the person, you know, and for her with her divorce and bigger life change, like in that way, like also a lot of noise and a lot of, she kind of had a lot of similar noise in that sense of like, wait, you're dating that guy, like
but it's all like it's funny because it's all external. So you guys know what your connection is, what your conversations are, the quality of that is. When I met Delian, I was working at the Human Rights Commission in Ontario. And the Human Rights Commission is a really interesting place in that whenever there's any kind of controversy in a social sense, it's always, that's where it lands. Like if it breaks the law, the police get involved. But if it breaks a convention or more sufficiently far outside enough to make people seriously uncomfortable and angry and emotional, then it lands in the Human Rights Commission. So that, for a couple of years, that was the essence of what I was focusing in and doing and stuff. And so we'd see these we were surrounded by these kinds of conversations, right?
Yeah.
And I could see how, for somebody who's trying to make sense of the world by fitting it into the right sort of shape and box, seeing something outside of that it reveals their own discomfort and prejudice and whatever it is, like not, I don't call it narrow-mindedness, but lack of breadth.
Yeah. Well, and that's been my reflection on all of the moments that I had, like, as a kid, you know, because at the tender age of 16 and a half, feeling so different and feeling like my interests really dictated my way of life.
Okay.
And again, like, the outside noise of these people who really loved me and cared for me saying, like, oh, if this is what you like maybe, you know, like, I think blah, blah, blah. And so I didn't come out or go through that process as like a societal pressure, but in a way it was a really popular thing at the time. And I really thought that my interests dictated my way of life. Right. And, it took a lot of bravery, I think, a few years later, 20, 21, 22, moving into the city to say that, like, actually to question myself. Right. And to say, am I putting myself in a box? Okay. By being the big air quotes truest version of myself, like by limiting the love that I can feel by sticking to what I said when I was 17. Right. Am I putting myself in a box? Like, am I open to other forms of love and expression? And it just sort of turned out like, yeah. Amazing. You know what I mean? Like, it really allowed me to open myself up to Karis and that idea of, like, listen, just because I'm in a heteronormative relationship, like, doesn't make me a straight person. Sure. And, like, doesn't make Karis a straight person either. Like, we're not on the other side of the fence necessarily, just because, you know, we're not in the other box, like, just because we're not in this box. Right, no, I got it. And, like, that has been also really liberating to like, just be. Right. And to say, like, my interests as a whole don't dictate, like, who I am. It's like, this is just, wow. Yeah.
No, I had no idea this is where we're going to end up. God, I love this kind of stuff. This is crazy. Like, this is amazing. I love it. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Okay. So the older you get, the more maturity you get. And in a way, like, for me, I feel I became me when I hit 27. Okay. That's really when I feel like I am me. That's really when I really kind of became my whole self. Okay? Yeah. If you could talk to your 17-year-old self or just talk to somebody else who is wrestling with this idea of where do I fit and how do I express who I am? Like, what would you tell that person? Chill the fuck out. No, what would you say?
Chill the fuck out. Like, take a deep breath. You know what I mean? Like, stop, like, not stop, but, like, try your hardest not to define yourself in every moment. Okay. Because just because you want, I don't know, just because you scored the best goal in that game as a kid doesn't mean that you have to sort of fulfill the progression of then becoming a major league soccer player. Right. Just because, you know, I would say, like, take your time. Okay. Take your time, because it does a wonder to, like, just be able to stay malleable. Sure. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. I don't think that, like, what I went through in this, like, second coming out, because everybody comes out time and time again. Yeah. All sorts of things. Always renewing yourself. Know what I mean? Yeah. Always renewing yourself. But, like, yeah, it's so hard to say, because, like, I know who I was as a kid, and I got the same advice. Okay. That I'm now giving my or any younger person. Right, like, I'm giving that same advice like my parents told me. It was like, just relax.
Oh,
like, just,
your parents sound
just
awesome.
allow you. They are. Yeah, thanks. Like, and it's funny now because I feel, you know, I'm different than my parents, but like, I feel so similar.
Right.
And it's like, just be open-minded.
Okay.
Just be open-minded, because somehow, in a funny way, coming out, telling the whole world that I'm gay as the day is bright, became closed-minded.
Right. Okay.
And I think that that's something in a greater sense that like the community does deal with and like does struggle with sometimes.
Right.
But like, yeah, just relax.
Jared, I love it. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, no problem.
Shooting it raw?
Yes. Shooting it raw.